Yikes. That is why the vision of Disney, I think, for a lot of people in the long term is it's pretty much just going to sit where it is, and it's probably not going to see any major moves anytime soon. The box office is not going to push or pull Disney largely in one direction or another. Disney just bragged about how well Moana 2 did in the theaters today, and yet it did absolutely nothing for them. I think Nelson Peltz was right. No matter how cordial some of these analysts are when they ask their questions to guys like Iger, money talks and everything else walks, okay? That was Disney today. Let's just be very, very clear. It wasn't a horrible day, but it wasn't a great day, and especially was not a great day when you consider that this was supposed to be a boost, this earnings call, right? They beat expectations. They beat Wall Street estimates. Disney announced, you can see it right there, earnings beat. They beat their earnings per share of $1.70 of $1.76, beating expectations by 22%. Should be a good day, right? It's not, because it's what's underlying. It's the guidance. It's what's looking around there. And I want you to look over here. Look to the side here. See this Dow 30 thing right here? Yeah, that's what Disney's a part of, as well as the S&P 500. The S&P 500 was positive today by about 40 basis points almost. The Dow Jones about 70 basis points. Where was Disney? Not there. Just not there. So this really wasn't necessarily a broad market thing. This was just a not that happy reaction. Now, look, there's plenty of other things out there in the equities market that rise and fall based on the news, and some sectors move together, some don't. Not here to litigate every single member of the S&P 500. We focus on Disney's history because we know it very well, and we know the litany of mistakes they've made over time, and it's been quite a bit. But for comparative measures, I want to show people kind of what we're talking about here. These are the 30 different stocks that are part of the Dow Jones. And you can see there the biggest one today, this column here that my cursor is floating over. You see this percentage change? Let's not look at the dollars and cents. Let's look at the percentage change. So that column there, Amgen, medical company, had a big day. NVIDIA popped back up. NVIDIA's gotten beaten up the last several days because of China announcing things like a really cheap version of AI, which is probably just a lot of bluster from China. They may have something, I'm sure they do, but is it anything innovative? That's what's still out for debate. Would they actually be able to take on and replace an NVIDIA? As of right now, the jury's out, but NVIDIA's probably not going anywhere. Boeing, Cisco, Sherwin-Williams, Goldman Sachs. We can go on down the list, all 30 of them, but we don't need to. Where was Disney today? Oh, Disney was second worst. Oops. I can change it to make it look different because I sorted it by low to high. So let's go from high to low. Now Disney's at the bottom. There we go. Second worst. See that company that's right below them? Nike? Yeah, Mark Parker, who was the Disney chairman, not having a good day. He was from Nike. Both the big companies he's been involved with in the last fiscal year didn't have a good day. Not that they're related. I'm just making the joke, just to be clear. None of this is financial advice, of course, but we do cover the entertainment industry, so here it is. Now, people talked about Comcast and how they got beat up last week, and they did. But remember, Comcast does not rise and fall in the same way that Disney does. Comcast is much more impacted than Disney is by secular headwinds, meaning people cutting the cord. Comcast's biggest source of revenue is subscriptions for internet and cable television and mobile devices. That landscape has been radically changing beyond the control of any one company or the sector itself. So when we look at Disney and we say, well, the box office is good or bad, or the theme parks are doing well or they're not, Yes, linear has something to do with it, but yes, Disney has also put itself in the streaming business, and as we pointed out this morning, Disney is now worth less than half of Netflix, which had a very good day. And to that end, you're talking about Netflix, which is a company that is nothing but streaming. They don't have the $100+ billion of real property that Disney does. They just have streaming, and yet they're turning in almost the same amount of profit in terms of dollars, $10.4 billion for their fiscal 24 on $39 billion of revenue. They're turning in almost the same amount of dollar profit that Disney is on $90 billion of revenue. Disney turned in about $11.9 billion in profit, about $1.5 billion more than Netflix, or roughly 10% more profit than Netflix in terms of raw dollars, operating income. We go by operating income here. Yikes. That is why the vision of Disney, I think, for a lot of people in the long term is it's pretty much just going to sit where it is, and it's probably not going to see any major moves anytime soon. I'd be very surprised. The box office is not going to push or pull Disney largely in one direction or another. Disney just bragged about how well Moana 2 did in the theaters today, and yet it did absolutely nothing for them at all. It is what it is. What drives Disney is theme parks. What drives Disney is sports and linear and streaming right now, because, as many analysts correctly were hinting at during their questions to Iger, which he so deftly dodged, is that, are we looking at a net positive in the long term by having streaming here, or are we simply looking at replacing revenue that is being lost on the cable TV side, let's call it, broadcast, linear broadcast? And a lot more people on Wall Street are just starting to come to the realization, I think, that streaming, not just for Disney, but for virtually everyone and anyone not named Netflix, is not going to be a big money machine anytime soon, and may not ever be. At least insofar as if people like Charter and Spectrum can continue to figure out to move what they have to internet subscriptions, and then to break those subscriptions up from having to be forced to carry very expensive sports packages for every subscriber, most of which don't watch sports. That's what we gleaned from this morning. And again, I think Nelson Peltz was right.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.